What up, Dokkanners? Let's discuss the start of part 3. When is that going to be dropping? And how do we know for sure? Well, we don't exactly know entirely for sure, but there are a couple of dates in the game right now that pretty much give us pretty good indication of when it's going to be starting. So let's just quickly discuss that. We can take a look at two major dates in the campaign details. One is the SMS campaign, and the other one is the Zenny Galore campaign. So let's start with the SMS campaign, because this one is a little bit more rough. So this one, the social media one, where you click on the horn and then it takes you either to Twitter or to Line. You either post it or you don't. You cancel it, you come back, you get your stones. This has been dropping subsequently throughout the entire worldwide download celebration, and it's still going to continue. These different dates, basically every interval of about a week or so, we have a new SNS campaign where you can get 2 more stones. And these have actually kind of coincided with some of the other major moments in the celebration. I believe the 8th of September, this was the one around this time. This was when the Metacooler song started playing on the home screen. But yeah, it's not exactly precise. But if we look at the next start date, that is the 22nd, an hour before it becomes the 23rd for me. So the timing doesn't really matter, but the point is it's happening on the 22nd, which is pretty much where we're kind of leaning towards in terms of the start date for part 3. Now, there's another date that gives a lot more evidence to suggest that. So let's actually check that out now, which is the Zenny Galore campaign, because the Zenny Galore campaign not only pinpoints when the EZAs have started, but they've done it exactly to the T. So let's actually check out the Dokkan Wiki here to corroborate this. So part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. This has nothing to do with the worldwide downloads, part 1, 2, 3, 4. There is no part 4 for worldwide yet. We don't know anything of that. This is just simply like the various instances that the Zenny Galore campaign is kicked in. If you guys don't know what that is, it's basically the missions where you got a ton of Diamond Hercule statues, basically more than enough to fund every single EZA, because doing all these EZAs, it adds up. And with a lot of new players in here, you may not necessarily have the funds or the means to get all those Extreme Z Awakenings going. And the last thing that you need to inhibit you from having fun with these units is the Zenny count. That's just all kinds of stupid. So the Zenny Galore campaign pretty much covers you. So the first one was on the 2nd of September, Friday at 1 a.m. Now, the timing doesn't, like, you know, whatever it means for you doesn't quite matter at this moment. We're just trying to see if they match up. So for me, since it's all in Pacific time zone, we've got the 1 a.m. start time for September 2nd. Goku, Frieza, and Cooler all received their EZAs during part 1, the 2nd of September at 1 a.m. So it lines up. Looking at part 2, it says the 9th of September at 1 a.m. Actually, let me move this over a little bit so you guys can see all of it. There we go. So if we move it this way, the 9th of September at 1 a.m., that gives us Vegeta, Piccolo, and Dokkan Festival Metacooler. All 3 of these started during part 2. Also during part 2, but they now call it part 3, the 13th of September at 1 a.m. gives us the 3 free-to-play EZAs. So every single EZA that we've been given so far during Worldwide has been given its own moment of Zenny Galore campaign, which means there would be no reason why they wouldn't want to give the EZA time slot at the same time, because it has to. Like, we have to be getting the same missions for STR Cooler and Thouser and whatever else they decide to give us at that same time. My guess is it's going to be Thouser, Cooler, and the entire free-to-play Metacooler army, because if you guys recall, we did get the sticker assets for the free-to-play Metacoolers in a recent data download. I believe it was for part 2. So we know that this is going to be happening. Plus, looking at how incomplete they are, they have to have it. And even more so now that we have an event, a challenge event, that pretty much requires you to bring the Metacooler army, even more reason to make them better. So this is what's going to be the start time for the EZAs. That doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the start time for part 2. It just means the start time for the EZAs. So if I were to guess, with all of this information now, if I were to guess the start time for part 2, it would probably be a couple of hours before this. At which point, now you're probably wondering, what time does that mean for you? So in my humble opinion, for me, part 2 will be starting on the 21st of September at around 10:30 or 11:30. So for you, it will basically be the 22nd or the 20th, well, depending on wherever you are in the world, but it'll either be the 21st or the 22nd, 5.5 hours to 6.5 hours after your reset. That's it. So around then, we will start to get part 2. We will then get the part 2 EZA soon after. But if you guys are waiting for more information even quicker than this, then look forward to potentially some sort of an EZA teaser, either coming up today, tomorrow, sometime like that. And then soon after that, we will receive a data download, and then ultimately part 2 will begin later on. So that is my prediction, and I am sticking to it. Let's see if I'm right. But like I said, it's a prediction. It's not confirmed, but it's pretty close. So let's see if how accurate I end up being. Guys, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like down below. Let me know in the comments, when do you think part 3 is going to be starting? When do you think Cooler will be awakening? And do you have high hopes for that physical Thouser? I'm suddenly getting a feeling that physical Thouser is going to be the surprise unit. Not that he's going to be better than Cooler. That's going to be very sad if the Dokkan Fest is the letdown. But I have a feeling physical Thouser is actually going to surprise us a little bit. I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. Also, be sure to subscribe for more Dokkan content in the future and click the notification bell so that you let YouTube know you want to see more of my stuff. Do it. Thanks again. Stay tuned and always remember to Dokkan responsibly.